I think this card's... A lot of people are like, oh, this won't even make Pirate Warrior good. I don't know if it makes Pirate Warrior good or not, but I will tell you that a 1/1 that comes with a 1/3 weapon is probably at least good. Fiery War Axe is obviously what you want to be playing on 2, so do you really want the weapon on 1? Well, all we need to do is have a 2-drop that's really good come out, and then all of a sudden maybe I want to play that on 2 instead of Fiery War Axe, and then all of a sudden this weapon becomes a lot better. A 1/1 that can trade for a 1 health minion, or the weapon can trade for the 1 health minion, or they both can trade for a 2 health minion for 1 card seems pretty good to me. I don't know. I'd say this card's good, in my opinion. I don't know what else is coming out, but I'd say that in terms of like giving yourself options against aggro decks, this card's pretty solid. That's all I'm saying. Let's start from the bottom. This card's interesting. Deal 1 damage to all minions. It's on a thing. It has a death rattle. I think they're going to be moving away from silence in the future, so there's going to be less silences. So yeah, I like the Tentacle. I think it's a solid card. I like the design. It's tough to say how good it'll be from here. This is an interesting line. I like this Hollow Zeal to Ascend, and people are like, oh, this is going to be crazy, and Control Shaman, etc. Crackle's getting rotated out. We need to see another burn spell come in, because all we have really is Lightning Bolt. You're not going to be using the Lava Shock. Yeah, I get it, you can AoE. Okay, this is AoE, heals you a bunch of life against aggro decks. So. Yeah, that's a thing, I guess. They would just kill it. They would trade. And it's tough to see where the game's going to go, because without cards like Nerubian Egg, Haunted Creeper, a lot of the Shredder, these cards that leave minions left over, trading might be a lot worse for aggro decks, so they might not be able to retain value by trading and then just pumping out more minions. So if that's the case, then they wouldn't even be able to trade with the Ascendant because they wouldn't be doing enough damage. They need to go face and hope, in which case this card's a lot better. Like I said, a lot of these are going to be tough to speculate on because the whole set's not out, but it's personally how I feel. Doom is interesting. For 10 mana, I don't think the card's going to see much play even in a Reno deck, but I will say that this is what I wanted to see with the new cards. In Hearthstone, because you get a mana crystal every turn, I've said this before, and it's not like Magic, the aggro decks in Magic have to run a certain number of lands, so they end up teetering out. So they can't play like a Dr. Boom in a mono red deck in Magic because they'll never get to 7 mana because they need to play lower amount of lands so they can draw more action spells or action cards. In Hearthstone, you have decks, though, like Secret Paladin, that just get to curve out because you get a mana crystal every turn, and they get to play everything from a 1-drop that's really strong to a Dr. Boom. Okay, so therefore, your control cards in this game need to not just control the board, but they also need to provide some sort of tempo. Doom. Destroy all minions, draw a card for each. A control card with an upside is very important. That's why I think Bash was a great move for Blizzard to print. I think the card's good. Healbot gave you a body and healed you. That's why Healbot's so good. All these cards that usually only heal, we've seen that usually only heal, aren't as good because they don't give you tempo back. And stalling so that you play a bigger card than your opponent isn't really a reasonable strategy because even your aggro decks are dropping Dr. Boom and stuff. So I like to see this kind of design on a control card where we're controlling and we're also providing some sort of tempo. Because if they play minion and hit you, and then you get rid of the minion, they hit you. If they play minion and hit you, you get rid of the minion, they hit you. Forbidden healing. I like the idea of the forbidden. I really like in Magic they do this where they have cycles of cards that are similar. So this we have the forbidden cycle of cards. I like the idea. I think it's interesting. I'm not really sure that this one's particularly great. I mean, you can heal 20 even. It gives you a lot of flexibility. It's a great control card for sure. If you have 10 mana, if you make it then, you can actually just heal 20, which is insane. That kind of healing maybe could let you regroup. It's like I said, without the bonus effect, it's tough to say, but there's a lot of that what I was just talking about, where if you play something and I remove it, and you play something and I remove it, and you play something and I remove it, I end up behind, isn't necessarily going to be the case after standard. So I actually think that this card's a decent control card. Infested Tauren, I could go into the math, but this card, based on the current stat spreads, is terrible. I think that even after the format rotates, it probably won't be good, unless we see something to go with it. The Herald of Velas A lot of people have been saying, oh, well, without Sludge Belcher, this card's not as good. You need powerful death rattles. That's true. There's a couple other variations of cards that you can print to make this card good. Like what? Cards that have on-board effects that are strong, or have end-of-turn effects that are strong. That type of thing. I think this card definitely has possibilities. It's not statted too poorly. If it summons 2, it's basically 7/7, so seems like it's fine. The Th3RaT, this guy, and all the cards that work around him, I saw like some talk about how people are worried that the game will be linear, that every deck will have him in it, and then every deck will play these little guys. These little guys still have to bash together, and there's still going to be some decision making in terms of minion trading based on stats. Then whoever draws Th3 wins first or whatever, possibly. I don't know. I think that you'll tend to see these decks be a little varied. Another thing I want to touch on about this healing card is that Blizzard said they want to go away from healing outside of class and move to class Th3. Yeah, and this is why this is a good move. This is important to point out. People are like, oh, I like the idea, but to like vocalize it. If Healbot is your best option to heal, we all play Healbot. What do you see on turn 5 then against aggro decks? Healbot every time. What do you see? And but if you vary it, if you bring these healing spells out in the different classes at varying mana cost, then you see the healing happen on different turns, which makes aggro decks better against other decks on different turns, and it changes what you see. You don't always see the Healbot to come back. You start seeing other cards. You start seeing them on different turns. It really creates more dynamic games. Yeah. I also would have liked to see more cards, Druida. Yeah, I would definitely like to see more than 134 cards. Yeah, so this card, Divine Shield, 4/2 for 4. Yeah, the Battle Cry remains to be seen how good that is. There needs to be some math done. Probably someone already did it. Forbidden Shaping. These cards, this is gonna be hard to tell how good this card is. Not sure. I think it's not good. But at the same time, 7 mana, you automatically get a 7/7. It does have a lot of flexibility, so maybe it is actually just good. Like, it's either just bad or just good. Forbidden Flame, spend all your mana, deal that much damage to a minion. This is interesting for Tempo Mage, but you're not going to see Flamewakers anymore. If I'm remembering correctly, that's wrong. You will see Flamewakers still, it's BRM, right? Okay, yeah, you're still seeing Flamewakers. I don't know, I think this card's actually not that bad at all. I think it's very acceptable. If it went face, it'd be OP, obviously, so. As a removal spell, I think it's fine. Tough to say if we'll see it. No. Ancient Shield Bearer, same thing. 6/6, gain 10 if it's at least 10. I'm really interested to see where they go with these class Cthulhu cards. If one of them is just so much better that that's the class that uses Cthulhu and the other ones really have to do different stuff. That's all I have to say on these. If you don't get this often, then these stats are poor and this card won't get played. This card with the nerfs is probably likely just something that you're doing in a Cthulhu deck. Not a Cthulhu deck, it's just a Yeti, which you might be playing post-rotation, who knows. It's important to note that with some of the supposed nerfs, I don't know if anyone read the most recent Liquid Hearth article from when they interviewed the professional players who got flown out to Blizzard. You will probably see some rogue cards nerfed, and the reason you're going to see some of these rogue cards nerfed is because it's really hard to improve on cards like Backstab in preparation. What this leads to is those cards being in every rogue deck, and I can't print cards that can compete against them because those cards are just broken. So with a set that's always going to be in the game, you want to tone down the power level a little bit, maybe even to where the cards are slightly underpowered, but fit in based on what cards are in Standard. An example is in Magic, you could have a 1 mana red spell that deals 2 damage. The card just says deal 2 damage. You don't even need to know Magic to understand this. 1 mana, deal 2 damage. In certain Standard formats, I can make a card that says 1 mana, deal 3 damage. That card's not necessarily OP. I improved on another concept and brought out a card that's better, and now all of a sudden I can replace cards in those decks, or I can use them both in tandem. This is the idea. So they're going to be able to bring out better rogue cards. Eater of Secrets, I mean, we don't yet to be determined how good Secret Paladin is. I think this card's statted fine for what it does if it actually destroys the secrets. I think it punishes you harder than Kazan does if you use it in the wrong meta. Yeah, I mean, these are just interesting big minions, right? I don't particularly think that this card's very good either. This card's most likely poor. This card is even statted and gives Cthulhu 1/1, which is worries people. We yet to determine if this is like a valid thing you could be doing in standard. It most likely is. When we talked about this, I'm really worried if this is actually what I want to be doing, then every deck's gonna do it. But I'm very confident Blizzard won't get that wrong. I think that Blizzard won't get that wrong. Validated Doomsayer. Interesting card, I guess. If silence seems less of a thing and they nerf BGH, then I actually like the idea of this card somewhat. It makes my opponent attack into it. It's an interesting concept. It's good stats. Heal. If minion combat's good, you know. It's tough to see some of these cards, and then this is another Cthulhu card. So, I'll actually do a more robust review at the end after all the cards are released.